What if the shadows that followed you everywhere weren't just reflections, but something alive? Something that could watch, listen, and even speak. Imagine a quiet, fog-draped town where the streets glimmer under the pale moonlight, and the houses, with their flickering lamps and weathered shutters, seem to hide whispers of secrets long forgotten. In this town lived a girl, ordinary at first glance, yet unlike anyone else, because she noticed things that no one dared to see, while others ignored the shifting shapes cast by candlelight or dismissed the strange flickers of movement in their peripheral vision. She began to feel a presence, a silent companion that moved independently from her own body, a shadow that seemed to breathe with a life of its own. At first, it was subtle, a faint whisper she thought she imagined, a flicker of darkness that lingered longer than it should. But slowly, impossible things began to happen. The shadow would respond when she called, shifting in ways that defied logic, almost as if it understood her thoughts and fears. Every night, it whispered fragments of secrets, warnings of dangers she couldn't yet comprehend, and glimpses of a world hidden in darkness, layered beneath the reality everyone else accepted. And with each passing day, the girl realized that this shadow wasn't just a reflection of herself. It was a companion, a guide, and perhaps even a part of a destiny far larger and darker than she had ever imagined. Tonight, you will step with her into that world where the line between reality and the unseen blurs, where shadows have stories, and where the girl who spoke to them will teach you that sometimes the things we fear most are the very things that hold the deepest magic. Every night, when the town slept under the silvery glow of the moon, the girl would sit by her window, watching the shadows twist across the walls. At first, she thought it was just her imagination, the playful trick of candlelight and moonbeams. But one evening, a whisper brushed against her ear, soft and hesitant, almost like the wind, yet unmistakably forming words. Her shadow, the one she had always considered a mere reflection, had begun to move differently, stretching a little too far, curving in ways that didn't belong to her. She reached out her hand, and it mimicked her motion with an eerie precision. Then suddenly it shifted on its own, curling around the room as if exploring a secret only it could see. Nights turned into a delicate rhythm of discovery. The whispering became clearer, forming sentences, hints of advice, and questions about the world she had never dared to explore. She realized the shadow had knowledge that she herself lacked, knowledge of the unseen paths and hidden dangers that lurked just beyond her understanding. It guided her gently at first, nudging her away from missteps, but slowly it grew bolder, daring her to look behind doors she had always ignored, to notice things that had been invisible to human eyes. A mix of fear and fascination consumed her, for the shadow was neither friend nor foe, yet it felt intimately aware of her deepest thoughts and emotions. She began to speak back, experimenting, questioning, testing the limits of this strange companionship. And with each whispered conversation, she understood something extraordinary. The shadow was alive in a way she could not yet comprehend, a living extension of the darkness that surrounded them both, and perhaps the only guide through a world that humans had long forgotten. As days passed, the shadow began to reveal truths the girl could not have known on her own. At first, they were small, almost mundane. A lost trinket, a whispered warning of someone approaching the house, the way the wind carried secrets from one street to another. But soon, the revelations deepened, spilling into the past she had never fully remembered, and the town's history that was layered with forgotten shadows. She learned of ancestors who had hidden powerful magic in plain sight, of objects that carried echoes of old souls, and of a looming danger that had been ignored for generations. The shadow spoke not only of events, but of emotions, of regrets long buried and desires that had gone unfulfilled, painting a tapestry of the invisible world behind ordinary lives. The girl, once timid and cautious, felt her understanding of reality shift with every encounter. She saw how the shadow could bend light, sense intent, and even influence outcomes in subtle ways, guiding her toward choices she hadn't considered before. Yet there was a tension in this newfound knowledge. The shadow's secrets were intoxicating, almost addictive, pulling her further into its mysterious orbit. It whispered warnings of those who would not understand her bond with it, of those who might fear what she was becoming. But even as fear gripped her, curiosity prevailed. She began venturing into places she had once avoided, abandoned alleyways where the walls seemed to murmur, forests at the edge of town where the trees bent and twisted unnaturally, and forgotten rooms in her own home filled with dust and secrets. Everywhere she went, the shadow moved with purpose, revealing patterns and connections hidden from ordinary eyes. And slowly, she realized that these secrets were more than mere knowledge. They were a key, a map leading her toward a destiny intertwined with the very essence of darkness and light. A journey only she and her shadow could undertake together. The bond between the girl and her shadow, once delicate and curious, grew stronger and more intense. And with it came challenges she could never have anticipated. Strange occurrences in the town became harder to ignore. Fleeting glimpses of figures that melted into darkness, whispers of a presence that wasn't her own, and shadows that shifted with malevolent intent. The shadow warned her repeatedly, yet its guidance was cryptic, leaving her unsure of whom to trust. Friends and neighbors began to notice her unusual behavior. The way her eyes followed unseen movements and the faint glow that seemed to emanate from the darkness around her. Fear whispered from every corner, and the girl was forced to confront an unsettling truth. The shadow was no longer merely a companion. It was a guardian with its own motives, a force of the unseen world whose purpose was entwined with hers but not entirely hers to command. Tension escalated as an ancient threat, long dormant in the town, began to stir, feeding on the fear and ignorance of those around her. Shadows in every corner seemed to twitch with anticipation, moving independently and watching. One night, as a storm raged outside, the girl found herself in the heart of this confrontation. Her shadow stretched impossibly long, swirling around her in protective patterns, whispering urgent instructions in a language that transcended words. Heart-pounding, she followed its guidance, narrowly avoiding dangers invisible to ordinary eyes. Falling debris that froze midair, twisted forms that lunged from corners, and ethereal chains that sought to bind her. The climax built as the girl, finally trusting in the shadow completely, merged her intuition with its knowledge, confronting the unseen force threatening her and her town. The night trembled with magic, suspense, and fear, and in that critical moment, she realized that embracing the shadow, accepting its darkness and guidance, was the only way to survive, unlocking a power she had never imagined within herself. When the storm finally subsided and the first light of dawn brushed the horizon, the girl stood in silence, feeling the lingering pulse of magic in the air. Her shadow, once a mysterious and sometimes frightening presence, now felt like an extension of herself, a partner in a world that few had ever truly seen. The danger had passed, at least for now, but the experience had irrevocably changed her. She understood, with a clarity that felt both exhilarating and terrifying, that shadows were not merely empty voids or reflections of light. They were sentient, conscious, and capable of carrying stories, emotions, and guidance that humans often overlooked. Her bond with the shadow was no longer optional. It was essential, a connection that would shape her destiny in ways ordinary life could never predict. As she walked through the quiet town, noticing details she had missed before, the way the trees swayed, as if whispering secrets, the glimmer of light refracted through the old windows, and the subtle hum of life in the unseen corners, she realized that her journey had only begun. The shadow moved beside her, sometimes stretching long, sometimes merging into her silhouette, a silent, enigmatic companion whose presence was at once comforting and electrifying. The girl smiled faintly, knowing that she had stepped into a realm that blended reality and mystery. A world where magic thrived in the dark spaces between ordinary perceptions. And as the camera would slowly pan upward toward the moonlit sky, shadows dancing gently on rooftops and streets, viewers are left with a lingering sense of awe and curiosity. The realization that the world is far larger, darker, and more magical than it seems, and that, perhaps, their own shadows are quietly waiting to tell their stories too. As the last traces of moonlight fade across the quiet town, and the shadows settle back into their secret corners, she stands still, feeling the soft pulse of magic beneath her feet and the comforting presence of her shadow beside her. The night has whispered its secrets, the darkness has revealed its mysteries, and the girl who once walked alone has discovered a world alive with stories hidden from ordinary eyes. And now, dear traveler, as you linger in the echoes of this tale, imagine your own shadow, quietly waiting to share its story with you, the secrets it knows, the mysteries it holds, the magic it guards in the silence of night. If your heart has felt the pull of the unseen, the beauty of the whispered darkness, or the thrill of stepping into a world where shadows speak, then join us here in this ever-unfolding journey. Let your curiosity guide you deeper. Let your imagination roam freely, and let the shadows of MidnightFae become a part of your own nights. If you found yourself captivated, enchanted, or even a little shiver with wonder, take a moment to show your love. Click the like button, share this story with those who seek magic in the dark, and subscribe to MidnightFae so that every secret, every whispered tale, and every shadowed adventure will find its way to you. Step softly, dream wildly, and remember, the shadows are waiting, and the stories are only beginning.